Started. Tiago, it looks like you have the first one.
I do. So last week we talked about the snag that we hit with the requirements for using YAML to apply app security policies. We haven't resolved it yet. I think Arthur today is going to take a stab on something that he proposed. I just wanted to update that is ongoing. We don't have the solution. So the comments that you made there, Sam, were mostly correct. Arthur has replied. So if it still doesn't make sense, please get back to us.
Okay, yeah, I'm still trying to process all of this and understand it all the way. It seems like a rather complex one. I haven't had a chance to post on the issue yet, but I do want to clarify that even if the YAML is not, from the policy UI is not being stored in the cluster management project, I think for Cilium, if they're using Auto DevOps, they can still put the YAML file in the cluster management project and have that pushed into Kubernetes. And again, I would expect it to work pretty much just the same as Cilium today, was my expectation. But if there's a challenge with that, or if you run into a problem as you're doing the exploration, let me know.
Yeah, we will. So the goal is definitely to stick to YAML because as we mentioned before, we're not quite ready to take on the UI. There are a few final things that we need to check there to see how we want to build it. But hopefully we'll know later today. Arthur, you still good to try your idea later this afternoon or today?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
And I think that's it, unless there are any other questions about this.
Great, Wayne. I don't know if you want to talk to your item. I do want to go through the items I have on the agenda today.
So I know, Arthur, you haven't heard this multiple times a day, but I think everybody else has. Just some of my takeaways from the Shadow program, just as we want to read and comment on documents before the meeting, whenever possible. That'll help us be more efficient. So everybody reads things, not target you, Arthur. It's everybody. I just saw that work so well during the CEO Shadow program with Sid and his, the E-Group, his direct reports and others. And also, rather than having a scribe in meetings, which we sometimes start to do that, some explicitly or kind of, it just kind of happens. We want everybody, both the person who would be the scribe to participate. So everybody should be typing their own comments as they talk or when they talk or just after, just before. And that makes it so the scribe can fully participate. So there is no scribe rather than, and so that people who can't make a meeting can see all the notes and read it as well. So I think we want to try to do that. Any comments on that or seem reasonable to you, Arthur?
Yeah, it seems reasonable to me. I try to read everything ahead as much as I can. About commenting or leaving comments, I sometimes struggle personally typing and participating, but I will try to do it a bit more often and probably train myself.
It's hard. It's really hard. I'd say is write a summary. What I tend to do is I try to write a summary after I've said it. I try to write a summary, not get every detail, but just a summary of what I said, and that helps to. That helps. Trying to type. I've seen like Eric Johnson. He types as he speaks, and I don't know how he does it. I can't do it. He's just maybe it's practice. He's really good at it. I am not. I can't do two things at once like that. But yeah, good. So and that for example, that'll help Zamir, who isn't here today. And in the next meeting where Arthur and Tiago, it's 2 a.m. your time, and we're meeting and discussing things. Then that'll help you both know what happened better than in the past. So good stuff. So on the below items. So Sam, I think you have a thought as well on this.
Yeah, so I found it helps if the collective take notes for everyone else. It's always good to go back and make sure that what you're saying got represented in the notes, but that way you don't have to try to type and talk at the same time. So
Yeah, maybe if somebody else
whenever I
doesn't
can,
do
I
it,
try to take notes
should.
for someone else, right?
Yeah, so
I
if
don't-
I'm speaking and somebody types notes as I'm saying it, that's awesome, not required, and I try to do it for others too. That's a good point.
Yeah, Lindsay, what happens usually is Lindsay takes on that role and then she's the scribe. It's just finding that balance where you're not being the scribe, but you're being helpful.
One thing I
like that as
found,
well.
this is way too tactical, but when doing CEO Shadow, where we took zillions of notes, is if I'm not going to take notes right now, I show people my hands on the video. Then it's really clear. I ain't typing right now. And that makes it clear that I'm going to stop doing it. If I start like getting into the scribe role, I'll do that to make it clear to folks on video. If folks are on gallery mode, which works best for that, then they know I'm not doing that anymore. So anyway, I think we've beaten that horse up enough.
On the planning breakdown, Sam, were these items added last night? I'm sorry, I haven't reviewed them.
Let's see. I think I added them first thing this morning.
Yeah.
No, I added them last night. I don't remember.
Yeah, I would have missed them.
I
So
think it was yesterday.
I'm trying to do better with these group discussions where the day before, because they're early for me and Arthur as well. And if I usually don't have time to check them in the morning. So I try to do them the night before, which makes it a little bit awkward.
Yeah, and I generally would have a chance to look things over, but I'm still catching up from things from being on the shadow program for 2 weeks, or I would have gotten a chance to read these. So
if we can still discuss them.
I added these yesterday afternoon, 2 hours before now, yesterday, essentially.
Yeah, I've missed them. Is it still worth maybe giving us the gist of it so we can talk about it?
Actually,
it is.
Arthur,
I do want to cover them.
Did you happen to see these in advance? Did you get to review them in advance, or you didn't have or no?
I did not watch the video, unfortunately.
Nobody else. Well, yeah, Tiago and I didn't either. So we could do it. It's not super efficient to do it live, but so let's try to avoid that next time. But let's do it this time, if that's okay with everybody.
So I'm not going to I'm not going to show the video through Zoom that Kyle created. You can review that asynchronously, but I do want to share the Figma wireframes that were shown in that walkthrough. So if we take a look at those. These are just rough wireframes, but this is for container host security. So statistics. So we've already got web application firewall statistics and container network policy statistics here. One of the design challenges that we're running into is that we're not able to really scale this with the current design. It takes up a lot of vertical space. We've got this big web application firewall chart and this big, container network policy chart. And so if we go to add another one for container host security, and I think the label on this one's wrong, but you get the idea, container host security, that starts to be a little bit overwhelming. So this was just modeling out a few different, wireframes of how we might shrink things down a little bit, put two charts on the same line, what it might look like if it's not detected, so it still has a placeholder there. And after some discussion with Kyle, we were looking at, since this is an overview page, bringing like a snippet of alerts management here onto this page as well. In the end, we decided that for the MVC, we don't want to do that. We want to build the dedicated alerts page first and bring something into the overview tab later. But this is a design that, we could potentially resurrect later on if we wanted to show some sort of summary around alerting. Anyway, so just some rough concepts there. This is not ready for full planning breakdown. Obviously, we're still doing designs, but I just wanted to share this early because I know there's been a request for early engineering input into designs as well as requirements. So just sharing these with you early and wanted to get any feedback that the group had on these.
I guess I'll start. It looks good to me, and I don't really see any problems so far. I agree that it's better to have side-by-side graphs, and I think that's how monitoring group does. graphs on the monitoring page, so I think it's worth aligning with them. And maybe since our graphs are so similar, but we use slightly different colors, and I have a question that goes way back when we started working on this page. Should we maybe somehow align our work with monitoring, because we're starting looking more and more much closer to the what is monitoring does already. So it will be much easier for us to reuse their work than build something new.
Yeah, that's a good question. Kyle is in Europe at the moment. That's not where he normally lives, but he's kind of stuck in Europe for a while. So when he's not able to attend these meetings given the time zone. So I'll make sure he sees that note here in this and see what he thinks about that approach. I think that's a good point. If they're similar, but the colors are slightly different, that we might want to align there.
Yeah, I had another question, very practical, very minor in terms of the language for dropped packets versus blocked packets. I don't remember if we're using blocked them both or dropped them both, or if we mix them up.
Yeah, so I think they are slightly different. I think what you're seeing here is accurate. So for the web application firewall, we're just flagging anomalous requests, whereas for container network policy, it's dropped packets. I believe that is accurate for what we're measuring. The difference being that in web application firewall, you can put it into logging mode where you're not necessarily blocking things, but your policies are detecting, I don't know what to call it, anomalous requests for lack of a better term. And we did add a logging mode to Cilium, although it's still relatively new. So it's a little bit cleaner to represent that in terms of total packets and drop packets, although maybe down the road we can align those. But yeah, that's accurate for what it is today.
That's good. And a follow-up to that is that because this is an initial first early review, the idea is still that these designs will make into an issue, and we can then follow the conversations in the design tab in GitLab.
Yeah, so we have our issue here. It's container host security statistics. And again, we already have these two charts today. They're just laid out slightly differently. So just be adding in this bottom one for container host security statistics, if I can talk today. And right now, so the proposal here as well, and again, we're not quite ready for full planning breakdown on this, but where I'm leaning towards the metrics, there would be total activity and anomalous activity would be the two attributes that we would measure for that chart that we're adding in.
Arthur, are these already in Prometheus or somewhere else?
I honestly don't know. Sorry, I was not working.
That's all right.
Stuff at all. Yeah.
If you knew off the top of your head, it's just something for us to check as part of planning breakdown.
I know that we do have access to the Prometheus metrics with Falcor, but I don't know specifically which metrics are exposed right now. But I assume what we have right now on the issue is probably what we can get, but I need to double check that.
Cool. We'll follow that up asynchronously.
Yeah, I know right now it is split between the two. So the web application firewall is an Elastic. And then I think for this one, Arthur, you probably know better than I do, but we're just going straight to the cluster, right? To get these statistics?
No, we use Prometheus.
These are through Prometheus.
Yeah. And again, Prometheus is what we heavily use in GitLab monitoring page based on Prometheus. And I assume Falcor will be in Prometheus. So I would want to revisit WAF statistic down the road, though it was a huge discussion back in the day what to use, and we decided that it's fine to use different technologies, but I still believe that it's just much harder to use when I was setting up a demo cluster with all stuff on a single cluster. It's just clunky because we don't really have Elasticsearch requirements anywhere else, really. So yeah, I don't know.
It's one data point as well, but that index lifecycle management issue on Elastic Stack that we had to fix wouldn't have affected us. My experience with Elastic is that index management is heavy-handed. If we want something that is just showing numbers, Prometheus a lot easier to maintain.
Yeah, and
get going.
it's also has essentially way less requirements in terms of resources on the cluster. Like when I was setting demo cluster, I couldn't even install Elastic Cluster until I added 2 additional worker nodes because that's how.
That's a recent gotcha as well. You used to work with one node. It doesn't anymore.
Yeah, so essentially, if you want to install Elasticsearch right now into Kubernetes cluster and you're using a normal standard GKE node, you would need a whole node just for Elasticsearch, just to get our metrics out of Valve. I don't think it's worth for anyone. Prometheus at the same time does not have those resource requirements.
I mean, and if we're concerned with costs, customers should be as well, vice versa. So being able to try and run these things with less nodes is probably better.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like this would be a tech debt kind of cleanup issue. Tiago, do you want to create an issue for us to track that?
Yeah.
And
I do. Thank you.
I think that would be a great cleanup activity. All right, so that's all I wanted to share. Again, we'll discuss this again in a later group meeting and put it through official planning breakdown, but just wanted to get early engineering input on this and avoid bottling everything up towards the end of the iteration when we're trying to get everything through planning breakdown and refinement all at the same time. It's
great stuff. Lance says, looking at this reminds me of the comments over the last 2 weeks I heard a number of times in discussions that Sid was in on really excited about the container security space and what we're doing. Team is small, of course, but the team is great too. So it's really exciting stuff. It's nascent, it's very new, but it's really exciting stuff, and can really add a lot of value for GitLab customers, which is pretty neat. One little tactical I added 4B on is, so I think it's great saying you put this in the document a business day before the meeting, which is great. Can you also, when you do that, post in Slack and say, hey, it's ready to review, take a look. And then folks then know to look. I think that might have helped. Maybe not.
I mean, I can. If it's one business day ahead, then you should know that it's one business day ahead, right? So like, I think we actually have a bot that goes through and reminds us, and sometimes it reminds me to put in my notes too. But in any case, I definitely see the bot, well before the 24-hour mark. I don't know. I would rather not just, add another manual task.
True, but saying it would have been, I don't know, let me ask. So I wouldn't have looked even if I saw that message because I've just been swamped. So, and not good or bad if you would have. So if you would have seen that message, a message like that, Tiago or Arthur, would you have looked at this in advance of the meeting?
Yeah, yesterday, yes. Today, no. But as Sam said, I already rely on the bot messages, and I did check yesterday, and that's why I asked. I don't remember seeing these items in there. So I think the main point
just a little bit too early.
Yeah, the main point is
the version history in here. It was it was 26 hours in advance.
Yeah,
that's it.
What about you, Arthur?
Just, and it's not good or bad if you would have caught it. Just curious.
No, I definitely checked the bot because it's similar to what we have on Weekly's documents. We have a bot up there too, so I definitely checked those documents, and I found it's quite helpful too.
Okay, so no manual messages, just perhaps when people have stuff to share that should be reviewed is try, no guarantee, try to get in maybe more than one business day in advance. Then it'll be less likely. It'll be more likely people will see it. And also everybody should endeavor to look at the document in advance, which we all do, I know. But we need to continue to. So sound reasonable? Got my efficiency hat on. It's been pounded into me the last 2 weeks. and collaborate, global work, global team member collaboration, et cetera, et cetera. So good stuff. Cool. Anything
All
else
right,
we want
well,
to
thanks.
discuss? I don't think so, but wanted to ask. Nope. All right.
Not for me.
Cheers.
Have a good one.